Okay, y'all. Happy Wednesday. Um, I am going to let Danielle do a lot of the talking. I am exhausted and I've been sick on top of being away at this camp. But there are a couple announcements I wanted to make really quickly. First of all, I wanted to congratulate Mary Wild and Ashley Davis. They are both success starters officially now. They both have earned their ticket to Summit. They both are just doing amazing things. They are both so close to Diamond, and I really have a feeling that October is going to be the month for Mary and Ashley. So I couldn't be more excited for those two ladies. So congratulations. And the next thing I wanted to announce, I was trying to get, hang on, let me see if he's written me back. Oh, shoot. All right, hang on. Let me, this guy sent me a video. Hang on, let me mute myself real quick and listen to his video. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe she is not on this call. All right, I'm going to announce it. So, elite rankings are unofficially out. We always ask early because why wait until the second Friday of the month when you don't have to? So, Jennifer Fisher, this is crazy. I cannot believe she's going to miss this, but I've got to announce it. Jennifer Fisher and her team, 395. She is ranked 395. So congratulations to Jennifer and her team. Like, she's going to die, y'all. That is huge. That is so huge. I think I just sent her a message to ask her what she was ranked last month. And I mean, I really think it was like 500 and something, maybe 600. I mean, that's just insane. That's insane. And again, it is such a team. She was 579 last month, 579 to 395. Boom. And I have no doubt that this month her team will go into 1-star qual. All right. So let's get down to the other announcement. So last month we were ranked 186. And again, just so y'all know, like, I don't like focusing a ton on the ranking. It's exciting because it is such a team effort. Really what it all boils down to is the number of points we have. But last month we were 186. This month we are 160. And we have 92 elite points. We need, what is that? That is 13 more points. Is that possible? Is that really possible? We only need 13 more points. No. Yeah? No, it's 125. Is it 125 this year? I was thinking it's 105.
Yeah, CC, it's 105.
Never mind. I was thinking it was 125. I just looked at the thing today, but who knows?
Right. So, I mean, that's really exciting. Like, I have not done that math. I was still thinking that, and don't quote me on it. I'm so tired right now. I still need to figure out what we need in each category. But the good news is for the APV category, we have maxed out, which this time, I was counting APV until December 28th last year on a yellow legal pad. So the fact that we've already gotten the max right now, like, I cannot tell you what a huge sigh of relief I am breathing that I am not going to be getting out my yellow legal pad again this year and like keeping track of every single freaking point. So I feel really good about it. But anyway, all right. So I'm going to turn this over to Danielle, but before I do, I want to talk about really quickly, I'm going to introduce her, of course. But I want to tell y'all how I met Danielle, because I feel like it's a really important story, because I feel like if I had not taken a chance and gotten outside of my comfort zone, both just my comfort zone personally, but my comfort zone within Together Rising, I mean, we have a very tight-knit group. We have an amazing team. You really don't even need to leave for much of anything if you don't want to. But at the time, I was in a bad place in my business. I was in a bad place personally, and I was questioning everything, and I didn't know if I wanted to keep coaching. I didn't have any working coaches at the time. I had 0 working coaches. Um, I was trying so very, 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 very hard to hit my biggest goal at the end of that 1 year was to hit 2-star and go to the new leader conference. I was so far off. It wasn't even funny. I was just in a bad place. And so somehow I saw this message from Barbie Kalev, who is Siggy's wife, an amazing coach, has been coaching for like 11, 12 years. She's a superstar. She's in the Million Club. Like, she makes like so much money. She doesn't really even need to coach. She has this huge team underneath her. And she decided to take on 5 people that month to mentor outside of her personally sponsored coaches. And she kind of made, you apply, like you had to say like who you were, what your rank was, what your goals for your business, and like why you wanted to be in this mentorship group with her. And here I was on the verge of quitting, y'all. Like, I was like, this is not for me. Like, I had just hit Success Club for 12 months in a row. And on the 13th month, I started that month -4. And I thought, I can't even hit Success Club anymore. Like, I was just done. I was so done with everything. But for whatever reason, I saw Barbie's message, and I was like, I'm going to apply for this. And it scared me half to death. I know Deborah and Megan, y'all probably don't even know who Barbie Kalev is. She does not mince words. Danielle's laughing because, we used to get on these calls and she used to tell us off, and I would be like, oh my God, what have I signed up for? Y'all, she has her PhD. She was like a professor of like sociology or something. So she's super smart and she's Hispanic. So she has like this fiery Latina, like just passion about her. And I was so incredibly intimidated and scared of her. But there was for some odd reason, I was like, I'm going to do this group. And I honestly believe the reason why I was led to that was because of Danielle and the friendship and the friendship, but also like the success partnership and just everything that grew out of me taking a chance of it. Like, I just think back, like, what if I hadn't taken a chance with Barbie? I would never have met Danielle. And what came out of that group, Barbie scared me every single week. I was scared to get on those calls with her. I got on them. Most of the time she would pick me apart and I would say something. She'd be like, okay, yeah, whatever, Cece. And I would be like, can I come back? Like, what? What? Like, she was so annoyed by me and us sometimes, but what grew out of that and what grew out of me taking a chance, like, I just cannot tell you, like, the beautiful friendship and relationship that Danielle and I have, that we would have maybe met, but that's where it all blossomed. That's where it all came from. So anyway, I just had to put that backstory in there. I'm going to turn it over to Danielle. Can you unmute yourself? Here, I unmuted you.
Hey, oh, I love hearing the beginning of our story.
I know.
It's one of those things. And I think as much as you were ready to peace out of coaching and just be completely done with it, I was in a very interesting spot. I'll give you a little bit of background about me. I started, for those of you who don't know me, I started coaching in November of 2014. Swore up and down, we're told anybody and everybody I was a full-time coach. Like, I maybe hit SC a couple of months, but like, I was not in this business. This was not what I was doing full on. Like, I was kind of dabbling here and there. I was getting my master's degree in nutrition at the time. I had a lot of personal success with Beachbody, but my coaching and my commitment to coaching, because after a little bit, I think I spent about 4 or 5 months, like, not really doing anything with it. About 5 months into it, I started doing a little bit because, it was just so obvious. I had lost like 45 pounds at that point. People were noticing left and right. Like, I could not sell some challenge packs, right? But everything about my business was tied to my coach, my specific coach. And my coach is still, or she is not my coach anymore, but my original coach is still one of my very best friends in the entire world. She and I, Army spouse from like week one. But everything about my business was tied to her. So if she was being successful, I was being successful. And she had decided at the time, like right at the time that Cece's talking about this Barbie's mentorship thing, she had decided that she wanted to focus more of her attention. I think she's a 2-star diamond coach at that point. Decided she wanted to focus more of her attention on her startup company. She had been a part of a couple different startup companies in California, and she really wanted to do her own startup company. And so she wanted to focus more of her attention there. And I had this really gut checking moment, and it's very similar. It's funny how I feel like God orchestrates different parts of, you know, your life and my life and their life, and it all intermingles all together. But it was a point in time in my business where I had to decide, is this for me because of me? Or am I just doing this because it's fun to do with Erica? Like, is it just fun because it's with Erica, or is it fun and fulfilling because it's my passion and my calling? And all of my purpose finding in this came out of that group. And I was exactly the same as Cece. Barbie is as much of a like loving, wonderful woman as she is. She has a very tough exterior for a lot of really good reasons, but she is gruff. And so like Cece said, I felt this big on all the calls. Who am I? Little old Danielle and Barbie Kalev, the multi-millionaire. I mean, she's married to one of the trainers. Like, who am I? How the hell am I even on this call? And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about a little bit. Cece had asked me to speak about fear, and that's one of my favorite things to talk about. Like, I feel like Together Rising, and you know, I'm a part of the Good Vibe Tribe. So Together Rising is underneath of the Good Vibe Tribe. I'm a part of the Good Vibe Tribe. And we're all a part of Barbie Glev's organization, and that's how Cece and I ended up in that mentorship thread together. But it was really, I feel like they really have good trainings on the, like, I don't know how to say it, like the skill level of a coach. But you have to get past some of these blocks, because you can have all the skill in the world and you can be the greatest coach in the whole world. But if you can't get over yourself enough to get out there and really invite and live in your purpose and have this become bigger than maybe you even ever realized it could be, so much of that is rooted in fear. And so you've got to do some kind of intense work in that. And so I'm hoping that what I have to say tonight will really maybe start stirring up some stuff in your heart and make you think a little more. But really, more than that, hopefully what I have to say will give you some tangible tools to go away from your team call tonight and go out and do something different than what you're doing now. Especially, I feel like, because, you know, we're all entrepreneurs here. So if you have decided to do this for more than, I don't know, one challenge pack a month, or even less than that, you're becoming an entrepreneur and you're opening a business, and you're going to be treating it as such. And one of those things that you're going to combat against every step of the way is fear. And it's one of those things when I was thinking about, like, where do I want to go with this call? Because there's this level of fear down here, and then there's 55,000 million levels of fear and all the way up. You know, I feel like day one coach has fear, but Melanie Mitro, 4-time elite #1 coach, she still has fear. It's not like you get to this point and you don't have fear. You just learn how to say, all right, you're in the car with me. Buckle up. We're going. Doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to go. So you either come with me or get out of the car, fear. And so, you know, I know Cece had talked about, like, I have always called this talk like punching fear in the face, but that's kind of what it is. Like, you're going to punch fear in the face, get it into submission, and be like, you're either going to be going with me, fear, or you're getting out of the car, because there's never going to be a part of your journey where the fear is not going to be there. It's going to look different. You're going to be able to cope with it differently and move forward with a different spirit and energy. That fear is always there. So you have to learn how to live with it. So the first thing I feel like understanding about fear is, like I said, in the beginning, and every level through this, there are fears. So in the beginning, you know, and usually, you know, we talk a little bit more in this call, but I know Megan said she's putting her baby to bed. But like in the beginning, I think most people's fear is, what are my friends going to think? I don't really have any sales training. I don't know how to sell anything. I don't really have a social media following. Like, all of that is rooted in fear. What are people going to think when they see me post my transformation photo? All of that is there. I feel like once you get to a certain level, that is no longer the fear. You've personal developmented that out of yourself. Like, as you just realize the purpose behind what I'm doing is so much more powerful than what one single person can say over me, or can say about me. It just doesn't even matter anymore. But there's all kinds of fears that I feel like we walk through all the time. And like one of those that really is something that I feel like I still am like, all right, get in the passenger seat because you're coming with me, is that fear of success. And I feel like that actually holds a lot of people back, more so than what do people think? Because the fear of what will people think, like I said, I feel like you can do a lot of personal development. You can do a lot of reading. You can, and really what catapults that fear out of the car is helping one person change their life. You help one single person change their life, and all of a sudden it doesn't matter what the 50 naysayers are, because you have proof and belief that what you're doing matters to one person. All of a sudden that fear is kind of irrelevant at that point. But fear of success continues, because it's, especially if you are going through, you know, I know a lot of people have maybe read Jen Sincero's, what is it? You Are a Badass at Making Money. And she talks about that, and you are a badass and you are a badass at making money. But like the deep rooted, what happens when your life station changes from that of what you were raised with. Like your parents start looking at you differently, and people around you, and you start spending time with different types of people. And all of a sudden you're in territory you've never been in anymore. And what does that look like? And there's all these fears associated with that. And it's just there's just all these different fears. But one of the things that you've got to do is really do some pretty intense work of understanding what you're afraid of. Because fear hides in the dark, right? So like once, it's kind of like Gremlins. I've always thought of it as Gremlins, if you know that movie from the 80s. Like once you put the gremlin in the water and you expose it to the light, they aren't scary anymore. Fear is mostly scary when it's in your mind. And I feel like that is something that everybody, especially those who struggle with anxiety, those who struggle with that kind of like getting wrapped up in their own head about things, it's because you're not getting it out. It's all hiding in the dark, and it's all manifesting into these bigger and bigger and bigger things that all of a sudden paralyze you, and you can't do anything anymore. And that, you know, I feel like we look at that out in the world and we think paralyzed in fear like this, but paralyzed in fear looks like not knowing how to answer someone back when they do answer your invite and say, yeah, I am interested. And then you're paralyzed in fear, and you're like, oh shit, I didn't know. Oh, sorry. I can cuss on this call, right? Give me a thumbs up. Let's see if I can cuss on the call. Okay. Like, oh shit, this is real. What if I screw it up? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I, like, it's just all these what ifs, what ifs, what ifs. And so, it comes in at that level. It comes in, like, I have this incredible transformation photo, but I don't want to post it because what if my pastor reads it? I'm friends with him on Facebook, and I don't want him to see me differently. Like, there's just all this, it all circles in there. And then you start overanalyzing and under actioning. And so we'll get to kind of the cure. I put big air quotes around cure for fear, but getting it out is a big thing, and speaking it to someone else, because I think number one, it minimizes what it is. When you take it out of the dark and you look at it and you hold it in your hand, or you place it on the table and say, like, this is what I'm scared of, you can actually do work on it. But when it's stuck inside of you, and when it's stuck inside of your head, and you start thinking like, well, I can't go to Cece with this because she's going to think I'm stupid. And she's going to not think that I'm going to be this rock star coach that I said I wanted to be. Like, no, we talk to people. Cece mentioned our success partnership. That's what we talk about. We talk, and it's helpful to have somebody in accountability that can say, do you hear how silly you sound? Like, do you really believe that that's what will happen? Matt's always joked, my husband Matt has always joked that I am an extremist, which always sounds a little scary because I'm like, well, terrorists are crazy. But he's like, no, you go from like way, way, way up here to way, way, way down here. You slippery slope all over the place. And one of the like really big examples of this was when we were laying in bed one night and we were talking about our daughter, or me being pregnant and then having a daughter, because I was terrified, you guys. I was terrified to have a daughter, that she would turn out just like me. And I would create these story loops. And, he's like, okay, you're sitting here, you're 6 months pregnant, and you are freaking the F out, woman. Like, and it wasn't because I was pregnant and going to have a baby. I'd already done that. Like, yeah, that's kind of a scary thing. But like, if you've done it once, you're like, okay, well, I lived the first time, so hopefully I'll live the second time. But I was like, well, what if she does this? And then this, and then this, and then she's going to live in a trailer down by the river. Her husband's going to beat her. She's going to be in a wife beater, smoking Pall Malls with like 50 kids running around. I mean, I went from way up here to like way down here in 30 seconds flat. And he's like, woman, listen to yourself. And like, that's a really silly example, but that's exactly what we do in coaching. And that's exactly what we do in a lot of the rest of our life, is that we make mountains out of molehills. And fear is really good at that. Fear is really good at lying to you and making you think of these extreme, terrible situations. And one of the ways that you can do that, like I said, first and foremost, you got to get to the bottom of what you're scared of, because most of the time there's like this surface fear that you can like very easily be like, oh yeah, I'm scared of what people think. But then once you really start digging into like, why are you scared of what people think? You know, then you kind of get into a little psychology there of like all of the different things. Well, my daddy left me when I was 4, and, you know, I'm afraid that I'm going to be alone. And you're like, all right, well, now we can actually do some work on that. Because again, once you get that out, you can actually work on it. So getting to the bottom of what you're actually afraid of, especially in coaching, because we're a relationship building business. And so that's fearful, because you're not just on your own tinkering with, you know, I don't know, like, and we went to a Lego exhibit today. So you're not tinkering with Legos and building something with your hands, because you can put things together and they're going to look like what you decided they're going to look like. But when you're working with other human beings, it begins to be hard, because you have to start dealing with trust. Do I trust that they're going to follow through on their word? And do I trust my team? Do I, you know, there's, especially when we're in a team building kind of thing, there's a lot of trust that comes in. Is that something that you're scared of, and why? And like, let's dig up that truth and get to the bottom of it. So the other thing is holding up. So once you've figured out what it is you're afraid of, one of the questions that I often ask myself is, what's the worst possible scenario here? Like, you know, Cece, we'll take it back to our very first interaction, and you're sitting there with your laptop open. You see a message pop up from Barbie talking about this awesome mentorship program. Something inside your heart sparks a little flame, and you have a choice at that point. Am I going to shut my laptop and go back to listening to Scott Crunch granola? Or am I going to, I hope he's not listening to this, because I know Scott, I know what's up. I've stayed. But are you going to go back to that, or are you going to take a step and say yes and just see where it leads you? Like you said, like releasing that expectation of, you know, maybe this will make me 2-star at the end of the year, or maybe I'll meet a really good friend, but releasing that expectation. How are you getting over that step? What is the worst that can happen? And I know it's always silly. There's like t-shirts and memes, but did you die? But Matt asks me that all the time when I'm scared of stuff. Like, if you had clicked yes on Barbie's thing, or wrote out your stuff, like, what's the worst that can happen? Okay. Like, let's lay it out there and be truthful about it. The worst that can happen is that she says, no, Cece, you're not who I want in this. Okay. Then we can figure out, like, what is it about your application that didn't get accepted? And then you can start doing work. But if you're hung up in the, I don't know, you're never going to go anywhere. You're just going to sit there and spin your wheels in frustration and wonder why your life doesn't look any different when you didn't actually do anything to make it any different. So really going through that. And I know that, like, that's a little tiny example, but I had a conversation with one of my clients one time whose mother passed away. It was a very tragic and sad situation. And she was going through a lot of professional counseling during that time. And she told me in this interaction, she said, one of the things that my counselor said is, your mom dies. What's the worst that's going to happen? Like, and that's not trivializing it. It's not making a big, huge, sad, terrible thing small, but it's putting it out there, and it's allowing people to, or allowing you to see, what does this look like? What if the really worst thing does happen? Like, how am I going to live without this other person? And you start, like, instead of letting that live in fear and letting that make you anxious, it starts allowing you to see the reality and to see the truth of the situation and move through it in either a direction that you're familiar with or a new direction, and accepting that maybe you don't know the outcome of that, but you're going to walk through it anyway. You're going to say, fear, get in the passenger seat. We're going through this because I'm scared and it doesn't matter. Like, but you're going to walk through it. So holding it up against truth is a really, really big deal. And I kind of want to use most of the rest of my time talking about that, because as big as fear is, belief in truth is bigger. But you have to figure out what is truth about whatever it is, and where does your belief lie in all of that. So bringing this to a very specific direction of coaching. Usually what I ask is, do you believe that Beachbody helps people? Do you believe that the products and the services that we offer change people's lives? Yes or no? Like, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty obvious question, since all of you are here on a Wednesday night on a team call, like that you would believe that. So when someone challenges that belief, when homegirl on Instagram today on my ad was like, MLM scam on my ad, you get that little tiny pit no matter what. And you're like, okay, well, I can let that sit there, or I can punch the fear in the face and say, like, you can challenge what I believe about my business, but it's not going to change what I believe. It's no different if you're a Christian, or if you're, if you identify with a specific faith. Like, if you believe what you believe and you know that as truth, fear doesn't hold a candle to that. You know that it is the truth, that if done, these products and services change people's lives and create transformation. Doesn't mean the transformation looks the same for everybody, but you truly believe that what we offers transformation if done, because it doesn't offer transformation if you buy the product. That's not an agent of transformation. It might be the beginning, but you got to do the workouts, you got to eat the food, right? So with that said, when you go into inviting someone, you can be scared to death, especially if you're a brand new coach and you're like, I have no idea what I'm saying. I know that I'm going to screw this up. I know that I'm going to say something silly and stupid. Start with that belief. I did 21-day fix. I believe, because I saw results. Belief is, results right there, no matter where it is. Belief is in the results. So I believe that this creates change. And my friend has asked me about change, or I'm going to reach out to her because I feel like she might be interested in changing some aspect. One of my favorite things, I think Jen Hines talks about this all the time, is there's always an aspect of what we do that can help somebody, no matter where they are in their life. If that's our community, if that's the nutrition, if that's the products, if that's the workouts, whatever it is, there's an aspect of what we have that can change literally everyone's life. Like, nobody has it all figured out, right? And I'm not saying that we do, but we definitely offer tools that assist in that if actually used. And so when you are figuring out what it is that you believe, when you go into an interaction with someone with the intent to invite them, know what you believe, because they're going to have objections. And that's something that, like, we always talk about objections, but I feel like that's when the conversation actually starts. It's very, very rare. And we all want to picture this perfect interaction where we're, sitting down for our power hour and click, clack. Would you be interested in joining one of my boot camps? Bing, Susie says, yes, actually, Cece, I would be interested. And you say, wonderful. Here is our products. Which one would you like? And she says, I would like the one with the 2B mindset and the Beachbody on demand and the Shakeology and the Energize. Okay, let me send you your cart. 30 seconds later, Susie signs up. I mean, like, how many times does that actually happen? In 5 years, I cannot think of one. There's always some kind, one. Okay, Jen has one. Okay, Cece and Jen have 1 or 2 unicorns. I might have one in there, but I'm not. They are really, really, really few and far between. And it's not that we've had to sit here and coerce people into it, but it's that we start having a conversation and building a relationship with someone so that they can know and trust us and want to do this with us. But all of that is rooted in your belief in what you do. So one of the things that really catapulted my belief, because I just, again, kind of going back to my background, I'm a nutrition counselor. I have my master's degree in nutrition. When I began doing this more full time, I was looking at starting my own private practice and opening up, a brick and mortar kind of private practice and what that all looked like. And I got invited to NLC. That was the next year. That was the next year. And it changed everything because I was doing more, and I was, building a 1-star diamond team and all of that. I was doing more, but my belief was still cynical. And I've always, I grew up as a cynic. If you know my mom, well, you don't know my mom, but if you met my mom, you would be like, oh yeah, I see where Danielle got that. Like I could always pick out 10 different things that could go wrong. I can magnify all the things. And so I was always a cynic in the MLM, network marketing, whatever you want to call that. I never believed that someone who was in my upline had any kind of altruistic motivation for me, because I always believed that they were kind of in it for themselves, like they always, and that is a fear, guys. That's fear telling a story for me. And so even now, when I go to my team and express my true belief and desire that my team is a 5-star diamond elite team, and I can say that in my vision, I always, in the back of my head, check myself, because I'm like, does Carrie really think that I want her to be diamond for her? Or does she really think that I start like inventing all these stories that other people think that never even have existed. But it's one of those things that is a self-limiting belief, and it is fear that's rearing its ugly head underneath at the surface. And so working through that, I went to NLC. No, it wasn't even NLC. It was the weekend before that. We did a diamond retreat with Amy Silverman, and we went to headquarters in Santa Monica and met with Jeff and all of, corporate Beachbody. And all of the sudden, I got to hear Carl Deilicher not talk on stage, because when he's talking on stage again, cynical Danielle says, well, he's got to say that. Like, he wants these people to do things. But seeing the heart and soul laid out on the table, and hearing Michael Neiman talk about his first interaction with Carl and with this company, you start understanding that their heart is genuinely in helping people. Yes. Is money important in all of that? Yes, because they can't do the business things that they need to do if there is not income. Just the same if you work outside of Beachbody, your company that you work for or whatever cannot even have the lights on if there is not income generated. We live in America. Like, that's just part of it. But when the heart is there.
Real quick, I was just going to say, they probably don't even know what NLC is. Y'all,
okay.
NLC is New Leader Conference. So
New Leader Conference. I think now it's a 1-star diamond. Cece had mentioned that when she was wanting to do it, it was a 2-star diamond kind of thing. As a second, Ashley. Oh, thanks. So it's one of those kind of more exclusive events, like Cece's getting ready to go to leadership. It's kind of like that, but on a 1-star diamond level. So you're showing up as a leader. You now have a team of other working coaches who are pushing together. And so we got to meet corporate during some of that event, and I went to a diamond retreat and got to meet corporate during that. And all of the sudden, it became very real to me. It wasn't this ambiguous thing that was cute on Instagram and funny on Facebook, videos. It was real, and you could see the heart and the soul and the real life that was going on. And I think that that's where our clients and our coaches on our team get to see our heart and soul, like on calls like this, where it's not just, surface interactions back and forth in a team page. You get to see if Cece is joyful about Jen getting, being the rank that she is ranked in, I think, what did you say, 395? It's amazing. You get to see that. There's energy behind that. And so using that belief to catapult fear completely out of the way, because you get to, I am working, I don't know if I've shared this. I know I've shared it with Cece, but you guys probably don't know. I'm working on a book. And one of the things that I'm working on in that book is a concept called truth cards. So very similar to affirmations, but they're truths that are completely undeniable. You cannot argue your way out of them. And you get to literally hold up these truth cards when fear is trying to lie to you, when fear is trying to back you into a corner and keep you the same and not let you grow and all of that. You can hold up these truth cards and say, actually, this is truth. And I'm going to hold that, not also literally, but in my heart, in my mind. And every single time the enemy or Satan or whatever you believe in is combating against you and trying to keep you down, you get to hold that card up and say, no, this is truth, not what you say. It is not true that if I post a transformation photo, all of my neighbors are going to talk bad about me. That's not true. Your mind will tell you that that's true. But again, one of the biggest things that changed stuff for me was just the way I posted and the way I showed up in interactions was that what is the saying? I need to like write it down because it means so much to me, but it changed. Dang it. Now I'm getting all tongue tied. It's something about like, it changes how you show up when you realize people don't think about you as much as you think they do. Like most people are fairly self-centered. They aren't sitting there looking at their Instagram going, oh my God, Jen Towner. Oh, honey, did you see this? Did you see what Jen Towner's doing? Oh my gosh, you guys, did you see what Jen Towner's doing? Like evil, ruinous people do that. The majority of people are not bad, evil, ruinous people. They might not like what you're doing. They're like, oh, but then they keep scrolling. I mean, you're going to run into trolls and that's going to happen. But the majority of people are not going to throw you the middle finger and badmouth you all around town. So again, go back to the belief. Do you believe that this will help change either your life or someone else's? If it does, then punch fear in the face and say, this is worth it. Whatever kind of ridicule, again, mostly imaginary, that I may encounter is worth it because my friend Ashley lost 100 pounds with what we do. She shows up as a different kind of mother now because of what we do, because of what I do in my challenge groups. I show up as a different kind of mother now. And so it's really important to me that I share that empowerment with other people, because otherwise what they're doing is sitting in their house wondering why their life isn't going to change. And they're going to be right where you were when you started this. And so I had found that no matter what, that's worth it. So you just have to figure out what it is about this business that makes it worth it for you. And then capitalize the hell out of that aspect of it. And for me, that's transforming other people's lives. Like that is watching someone come to me and say, you know, and I think Moira calls it the book of proof. And, you know, maybe even Carl talks about the book of proof, but like writing that stuff down, saving that stuff in a file on your phone, because there's going to be hard days and there's going to be days where the enemy lies to you and tells you what you aren't significant, what you're doing doesn't matter. Your content is white noise, but you can go back and read that message from Ashley that says, oh my God, Danielle, yes, I fit in a size 10 jean now, but my kid just told me he could hug me and wrap his arms around me for the first time in my whole life. Like that is worth all of it. And so once you find that, hold on to it for dear life, because that's the kind of stuff that's going to push fear aside and let you drive on to a bigger business or helping more people or whatever it is your goal is. So getting that stuff out there, like, I don't know, I go back all the time to, again, it's one of those things where to Cece and I's very first interaction, and I was so scared, you guys. I have to tell my side of the story about how Cece and I became friends, because yes, we were both in Barbie's thing. And yes, I felt very insignificant. And I'm talking even before I signed up for that, I wasn't even going to write it because I didn't feel like I fit the qualifications for it. I was like, I don't fit the qualifications for that. Like, she's not going to care about me. And so, I think it was Meredith or Jackie was like, just write it. Like, what's the worst that could happen? I'm like, okay. And then of course you get picked and you're like, okay. So then going forward into that, we had done a couple of the group calls and I felt like I had stuck my foot in my mouth 50 times and I'd said stupid stuff, but there was something about, right? Oh, there's something about those calls. Like dramatic. But there was something about the way Cece showed up on those calls. I had no idea Cece was struggling in her business and even wanting to coach. Like that was not even in my wheelhouse. I had no idea. I was thinking about my own business. See, like Cece's worried that all these people are going to notice that she's like scared to continue her business. She doesn't even know if she wants to do this anymore. And I'm sitting here worried about my business. I don't know. I thought Cece was a rock star. What do I know? So I remember reaching out and I felt like such an idiot because I knew in my head, Cece already has a success partner. She's on Moira's rock star team. I think you may have been were you already a 1-star when you started Barbie's thing? No, a diamond. Okay, so you were a diamond coach. But in my head, you were like a 15-star diamond. Like, I had no idea. And I'm like, she would never be my success partner. But something in me kept nagging at me. And so I remember leaving you a voicemail on Facebook. And I think I even like made a joke because that's how I deal with things when I'm super nervous about them. And I like faked a puberty voice. And I was like, hey, Susie, I know, like, do you want to go to Dairy Queen and get some ice cream? Like fake asking her out on a date. And I was like, no, but for real, I've been looking for a success partner. I don't know if you're interested. You probably already have somebody. I'm like backtracking through like my ask. And I feel like we do this with invitations too. We like reach out. We're like, hey, Susie, I don't know if you're interested in joining my challenge group. You're probably not, because I like saw you I saw you tagged yourself at a CrossFit gym one time. So you're probably not interested in this. Please don't hate me. But like, if you kind of maybe sort of want to do this with me, like that would be really cool. So like all of that is so fear-based, but that's how I showed up for Cece. And then all this beautiful friendship has come out of that. But it was that interaction where I decided that no matter what Cece said, yes or no, it was not worth it to me to not ask. And so I feel like that's where we get hung up on those little things. And you said something to me that all of this is like these little tiny course corrections in my business that I feel like also help other people course correct as well. And you had said, and this is actually how you met Jen Fisher, if I'm not mistaken. It was some kind of like in-home nail wrap party or LuLaRoe.
It was my friend was having a LuLaRoe and sorry, I'm losing my
You're good now.
It was LuLaRoe and Beauty Counter. And I already had so many friends doing Beauty Counter. I didn't need any more LuLaRoe, but I was like, it was don't turn down any invitation.
It changed everything for me. Don't turn down an invitation. Right. All of it, because you've already decided, I have all these friends in Beauty Counter. I don't need any more LuLaRoe. I don't need any more friends. But somewhere along the line said, don't turn down an invitation. I think it was your the Pie Life book that you said.
No, it was, oh God, what's it called? Get Over Your Damn Self.
Was that what it was?
I was in the middle of reading Get Over Your Damn Self. And I fully remember I was driving over the bridge. It was a Saturday and this party was still going on. I was like, oh God, I don't want to go to this party. 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 And then I had just read the chapter on Don't Turn Down Any Invitation. And I was like, oh, this is what she's talking about. And so, and oddly enough, my friend who was throwing the party was one of Moira's first coaches and quit because she was so disgruntled with how everything happened. And she never, like, it was all here. Mm-hmm. But she signed up. I didn't fully understand that she had signed up. Moira was an acquaintance. I didn't sign up under my friend. I signed up under Moira. So that made my friend a little mad. So anyway, I was going to this friend's house. So none of it seemed right. Like my friend who was a Beachbody coach, who had a horrible experience, who quit. It was her house. I already had enough Beauty Counter, already had enough LuLaRoe, but here's this thing in the back of my head just nagging me saying, don't turn down any invitation. I went, it was Jennifer Fisher who was doing Beauty Counter. And we didn't even talk about Beachbody that day. I bought some stuff that I did not need, but for whatever reason I bought it. And that next day she contacted me. She friended me on Facebook and she saw that I was a Beachbody coach. And she said, I've been thinking about trying it. Can you hop on the phone right now and talk to me about it? And I was like, sure. And the rest is history. Like, right. It's so, some of those little things like that are so powerful. And that was really that year when Danielle and I met. It was such a pivotal year. And I can truly look back at all the pivotal moments of that year and how it totally changed my trajectory. Like, it's just insane how you can look back and Barbie's group, Danielle, going to that silly Beauty Counter LuLaRoe party and meeting Jennifer Fisher. Like, I mean, it was just boom, 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 boom. Like that kept happening that I could look back on.
Right. Oh, totally. And at each one of those moments, you had a choice. You had a choice to say, no, I'm going to stay right here and I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to take the one next step. And again, I think where fear really thrives is when it magnifies this huge view of everything, where if we just focus on taking that next step, everything shrinks back down to reality and you're able to handle things as they come along, instead of this big magnified view of the world that is kind of scary when you look at it all together. But then you look back a year later and you think, holy crap, how did it get from there to here? How did it get from that day to 5-star elite? Like, when I was ready to quit, you know, and you hear those kind of stories all through the National Wake Up Call, you hear them all, but it is truly, and this is kind of where I kind of want to end my call and then open it up if you guys have questions. But it's those moments of taking action. And Mel Robbins, in her book, again, there's moments that have changed things for me, and then there are books that have changed everything for me. Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. And yes, what does she call it? Like, her principle of the 5-second rule is transformative in general, but there's a couple of things she said in that book that changed everything for me. And one of those was 20 seconds of bravery. Like, if you can be brave for 20 seconds, let whatever happens next happen, but take those 20 seconds of bravery and say the thing you need to say. She talked about, like, you never want to look back and say, man, I really wish I had told him how awesome that talk was. Man, I really wish I had, you never want to look back and say that. So take the 20 seconds and she was talking about, like, there was this incredible speaker that she went and listened to, and she was so scared to go talk to him and all of this fear. She's like, and then, I did that, and it turned into this huge opportunity that had I sat in my fear of, like, oh my God, he doesn't want to talk to me. Like, he's this big, huge mega celebrity. He doesn't want to talk to me. And so again, you go and you're brave. And what's the worst thing that could possibly happen if you went up to Brendan Burchard and said, like, you're amazing. I've been writing this book and everything that you've been saying, like, is hitting right on the worst thing is he's going to be like, all right, cool, and walk away. You lost nothing. Like, so say the things that need to be said, invite the people that need to be invited, walk through the fears that need to be walk through. And all of that comes from taking action. The cure for fear is taking action. The letting fear ruminate and manifest is sitting in inaction. You cannot get out of fear by sitting still. You have to move through it. And I know I get so much out of personal development. There's all these little nuggets, and it's one of those things we've talked about. I don't know if your team struggles with this as much as my team does, or maybe even me personally. But when shit hits the fan in my personal life, personal development is the first thing to go. It's the easiest thing for me to just be like, I don't need to listen to that podcast. I don't need to listen to that book. I got a lot on my mind. I got a lot to think about. That's my big thing. I got a lot to think about. I don't need to think. I don't need to listen to that. But every single time I push play on that Audible book, or I open up the book beside me, I am gifted this blessing of someone else's perspective on my life. And every single time it moves me forward. And so Keith Callahan talked about something in his book, Built to Last. And now I have totally blanked on what it was, but it was really impactful as well. So you should read that book. I completely forgot what it was. It was really important. But that's pretty much what I wanted to say about fear. That's what I got to say about that. But taking action is really where the magic is made, because you're never going to grow if you just sit there and do nothing. I mean, you'll be the story of the coach that could have done something, but she really didn't do anything. So, you look back and you're like, that was too bad.
Thank you, Danielle. And one thing I want to say, like, taking action, I would just want to tell y'all what that could look like, because I know sometimes taking action, it's like, ooh, what do you mean by taking action? The way I take action with my fear is like, I have people like Danielle that keep me in check. I can't tell you how many times, like, now I know where it comes from. It comes from her husband, but she always says, like, what's the worst that could happen? So taking action doesn't mean that, like, oh my gosh, you pick up the phone and you call that person you're scared of calling. I mean, it could, but it also could be showing up on a team call. It also could be reaching out to someone and, like, finding a success partner. It could be like sending Danielle a message and being like, oh my gosh, that really spoke to me last night, what you said, or, whatever it is, like action. I think sometimes we think that action needs to be like massive. And yes, sometimes it does, but sometimes it's just the next thing. Like, what's the next thing you do? That's what action is, So know that I am still here and I am still standing because of the relationships that I've made with like people like Danielle. It's not magical. I am not any stronger than anybody else. I am not any smarter than anybody else. It's just that I've leaned into the community. And when I haven't been able to take the kind of action that moves my business forward, I've taken the kind of action that makes me okay, that makes me get to the next day. And sometimes that's what your days are. Sometimes it's not that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to meet 100 people today and I'm going to make these phone calls and do this. Sometimes it's just that you have a friend or you have a business partner that you can reach out to. So.
Right. Well, and being honest, again, I feel like that goes back to getting to the bottom of what you're afraid of, but being honest with people, like maybe you do have a success partner, but there's this surface level interaction. I was having a conversation with one of my coaches and I'm like, well, what does your success partnership look like? Like, what do you guys hold each other accountable for? And she's like, well, we just show up and we kind of do a power hour together. And I'm like, well, that's awesome. But like, do you discuss the things that you're struggling with that are hard? And it doesn't mean your success partnership has to turn into a complaining fest, but it's really hard when you won't ever actually speak what you're struggling with. You have to be able to get that out in a constructive way so that you can get the resources. I ask for PD all the time. One of the things, to be very open and vulnerable in this call, one of the things I struggle with most is getting my hopes up for a person, like not just a client, but like I feel like I believe in this person so much and they have all of this potential and I get to see that. And then they do nothing and they fall flat. And I really struggle with taking that personally. It's something I've done as a leader. And that's, I reached out to Jen and I said, hey, do you have personal development recommendations for this? And she's like, no, but I bet Moira does. So I reached out to Moira and said, hey, Moira's not my coach. She's not my upline. Like, she has no reason to be kind and generous to me, but she is. And so with that said, like that would never have happened if I sat back and put everybody else up on this pedestal and wouldn't be brave enough to reach out and say like, hey, do you have any personal development recommendations for this? I really struggle with this. And again, those are again, that's not big, massive action. That's a 2-sentence Facebook message, So small things can lead to big results.
This is true. Y'all have any questions for Danielle? Anyone?
First time, I don't have a question, but the first time I reached out to Danielle was to tell her thank you for speaking on a call because she talked about getting a business account and I went out and did that the next day and I wanted to tell her that I did it.
See, and that's the kind of stuff but that's taking action because what was stopping you from opening up a business account to begin with? Working through those blocks. I think that's huge. That's something that, especially the business aspect of this, people are like, well, I'm not a business owner. I've worked for Macy's my whole life. Like, I don't know how to run a business. There's a lot of fear surrounding that. So you educate yourself, you reach out to people, you take these tiny little steps, like opening a business checking account, by getting on a call and learning something new, by, again, I love what you said, Cece, that action doesn't have to be these big, scary, bravery things. Sometimes it's just getting on a call and hearing what you needed to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's showing up in a challenge group when you have not felt like you deserve to be there anymore because of the way that you've been treating your body. That's still bravery. That's still action. That's still moving yourself and your business forward.
Exactly. Oh, and one thing I know you didn't really tell your story too much, but I'm just saying this part because I think both Deborah and Megan will appreciate it. But Danielle is also a thyroid cancer survivor. Deborah's thyroid cancer survivor. I know Megan has been struggling with ups and downs of her thyroid too. So I feel like the thyroid, like I feel like when Danielle told me her story, I had no idea she was a thyroid cancer survivor. I was like, that's huge. There's so many women. I feel like
I don't ever talk about it. I don't know.
I think that is so powerful. I think once you get, Danielle is much younger than me.
Significantly.
But truly, like I talk to so many women that are in their 40s and 50s that struggle with their thyroid that have zero hope about it. And I think it's so powerful that whenever you have any kind of struggle or anything you've overcome that's big like that, like I think a lot of women out there just identify with thyroid kind of things. So anyway.
Well, and I think maybe because I went through that at such a young age.
A long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, was diagnosed with thyroid cancer when I was 19. And so 19-year-old Danielle and 35-year-old Danielle are two very different people. And I am who I am now because of a lot of the stuff that I went through. But reflecting on that time in my life, and it's not that it's not hard, and I've worked through all of the issues that surrounded that. But again, maybe it's just fear that holds me back from sharing that more, or maybe it's just a part of my story that I sometimes don't feel like is relevant, to where I am today.
Yeah.
But I remember having a conversation with someone, and this is totally fear holding me back from even mentioning having thyroid cancer, because I had said something and I said, but it's not your kind of cancer. Like, you had breast cancer stage 4. So like, I was embarrassed about the fact that I was a cancer survivor, like that it wasn't big enough cancer to even about, like, and it's not, like, it's a really big deal to go through. And I mean, Deborah, you're nodding your head, like, I know you said you've gone through. Do you still have your thyroid? No. Okay. Yeah, same. I mean, I had a total thyroidectomy, and there was all of the complications that went through that, and trying to get med levels right and radiation and all of this. But even in all of that struggle and all of that pain, I watched someone else struggle with cancer and was like, oh, they have it way worse than me, so I don't get to share my story. Like, that's that's fear holding you back, because you're scared that other people are going to judge the kind of cancer that you have. Like, how silly is that? But that's a real thing that I've walked through, and that I even said that to someone. I was like, and having been, again, you look at the reality and the truth, having been cancer shamed by someone, you're like, yeah, okay, well, you have thyroid cancer. That's not, come on now. That's not, you weren't like dying. I'm like, I had someone say that to me. And so it affected the way that I showed up in other interactions. I know, girl, people crazy. But they are, I mean, but everybody, you're going to meet people that subtract from your life like that, but you don't get to give them the power over future interactions, because by holding back, and maybe I'm preaching to myself here, but by holding back, sharing
although to some degree,
right? Like, holding back, I don't know, there's so much fear that I've walked through, even in the last couple of, like, I mean, I can pinpoint since July, a lot of fear that I've walked through, specifically in this business and moving forward from where I am right now, and what that looks like, and where I'm finding joy in my struggle and in going through this business. There's just been so much fear, but I've concentrated, like you said, on that next small step, taking the next small step, and realizing that fear is the only thing that holds you back from sharing your story and impacting another person. Like, yeah, maybe I didn't have stage 4 breast cancer and was dying of chemotherapy and, a hospital bed, but my story's still important. There's still people like Deborah out there who are walking through the complications of getting, maybe you're getting your levels right with Synthroid, and you just need a sister in that struggle. You need somebody who's been there to say, like, girl, I know that sucks. Like, doesn't everybody around you think that you are a mean, sweaty person? Because I was a mean, sweaty person when they were trying to figure out my Synthroid levels. And like, other people who haven't had to figure that out, they don't know that. Like, they don't know what that struggle looked like. And so by showing up and sharing your story authentically, and that doesn't have to be in big social media posts, that can be in conversation, interacting with people on an invitation level. You start talking to somebody and you're like, oh yeah, I had thyroid cancer when I was 19, and da 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 da. So
yes.
Yay. Thank you so much for inviting me to share on your.
No, thank you.
Call.
I took notes on what you said.
What's so fancy?
So good. I need to see these truth cards. Now, you've not told me about the truth cards. I love that.
And that, again, but like I said, with stuff that you're walking through, like, there has been so much fear for me surrounding writing a book. Like, I mean, God, Satan shows up all the time and has this big ass microphone and it's just like, who are you to start a podcast? You're a moron. Like, I hear that all the time. Who are you to write a book that has scripture in it? You don't have a seminary degree. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't, but that's the kind of stuff that I have to show up and say, actually, my story is valuable. Actually, there are people that need to hear that. Actually, her life was impacted by me. So I'm going to share it. Thank you. Like, get in the passenger seat or get the F out of the car. That's what I have to say.
I love it. Well, y'all, Danielle has started a podcast. Yeah. Tell them the name of your podcast.
A Whole and Nourished Life.
A Whole and Nourished Life. I think I shared that somewhere. I shared it on my Insta story. I can't remember.
Yeah. You guys have been so sweet. Just, I mean, it means a lot because that's kind of like one of my, I don't know, it's always been one of those goals on my vision board that, again, I was like, I had spoke out and said something to a friend. I was like, I don't know. I thought, yeah, thank you.
There it is right there. Look for her. The same shirt she's wearing in the picture I posted for tonight's call. And it's got a little purple thing. A Whole and Nourished Life.
Yeah, it's fun. Having a good time with it. And I'm enjoying the relationships that are being built because of it. So
it's fun. All right. Any questions? No questions? Okay. I'm going to stop recording. Danielle, thank you again.